In our second year-end interview with the Maritime Premier, Susan Holt of New Brunswick discusses why a forestry deal is urgently needed, the cost of health care, and the future of NB Power. And we are in Premier Holt's office. Thank you very much for the invitation. Good to be here.
Well, welcome. I'm happy to have you.
Looks great. Christmas tree, ornaments decorated by kids.
Yeah, students from schools all over New Brunswick send their ornaments into the Premier's office so I can get this beautiful tree and be reminded of Janeville, as we were talking about, and also lots of different places around the province.
Looks great. You recently sat down with Internal Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc of New Brunswick. Much was discussed, the one project, one assessment. How is that going to make a difference for getting projects moving in the province?
Well, I think it's going to really align and bring the teams of people doing this work closer together, because it used to be that we would do our assessment in the province and they would do an assessment at the federal government, and they would happen on different timelines, and they would ask for the same information but in different ways. And that meant that the proponents had to jump through extra hoops, and even our folks weren't as engaged with each other. So by harmonizing the two processes, where we bring the federal agencies and the provincial agencies and everyone together to do the work concurrently, to make sure we're exchanging that information all the way through so that we're meeting both federal regulatory standards and provincial regulatory standards all at the same time, with the same information and data, but as many eyes on the project, the proponent gets a timeline that's more efficient, that we're not doing duplicative effort and wasting energy and tax dollars on redundancy. We can have everybody in the same room as part of the same process. So I think that we can do a better assessment process that's clear and more predictable for the people involved.
Let me ask you about the Sisson mine. There's been some pushback. There's been some pushback on the Alberta pipeline deal, of course, as well. When you look at those, are you concerned that we're going to be able to get these large projects, these, as the Prime Minister calls them, nation-building projects, off the ground, get them built?
I'm optimistic that we will, but the key here is that it can't be at all costs. And I think that's what New Brunswickers are expressing, right, is that we want to make sure that we have put all the systems in place to protect what we love, which is a province that is rich in natural beauty, in wildlife, in incredible waterways. That's why people come to New Brunswick, right? I think we have the most beautiful province in the world. And while we absolutely want to see the development of our resources for our provinces and our country's benefit, at a time when the minerals that we're looking at Sisson, tungsten and molybdenum, we need those for defense, for Canada's sovereignty. We also need those minerals for environmental progress, because green energy requires batteries, and batteries require tungsten, and solar panels require indium. And so if we want to advance the green energy transition, we need to do that with some of these minerals. But we have here in New Brunswick brilliant environmental engineers, geological engineers, mining engineers. We have world-class post-secondary education institutions, universities that are training the people who will come up with the solutions that allow us to protect our natural environment and get the benefit of these resources. And I believe we can do both. I have faith in New Brunswickers that we can put a regulatory process in place that protects us, and that we can use those innovations, new technologies, and new ideas to make this the best and safest mine in the country, and see the benefit of those resources for New Brunswickers, for our economy and our system.
Yeah, certainly the revenue would be of help with a large looming deficit.
Yeah, good paying jobs, revenue that goes towards government services that are not getting any cheaper. We need more health care here in New Brunswick. We need New Brunswickers to have better access to timely care. And so having the money to be able to invest in our healthcare system, and which then produces a healthy population, which contributes to a healthy economy, all of those things have to go together. We need this circle to be connected.
You mentioned healthcare. You've opened 11 collaborative centers so far. Are they at the point that you want them to be? Are they operating as they should?
Yeah, well, given that our 11th announcement was just about a week ago, they're all in different stages. And actually, this is part of the beauty of the approach that we've taken, is that it's not one size fits all. Every one of the 11 clinics that we announced is unique. and is requiring different kinds of supports from our government. But I think that's what's unlocked it. The previous government had committed to 4 of these and couldn't get one open because they were operating in this rigid box of here's what it's going to be. Our team has said collaborative care means a team of professionals coming together and deciding even amongst themselves how they want to practice and who they want to be and where they want to serve. And if they want to do that with the Department of Health or the Regional Health Authority or with Medivy or on their own, nurse practitioner-led, pharmacist-led, family doctor-led, we are welcome to all of that because we want to see every flower bloom. New Brunswick needs all kinds of primary care. And so each clinic is a little different. It's at a little different stage. Some of them we've invested in net new nurse practitioners and doctors, and some it's technology, and some it's space. So we're thrilled to make the change and to start to turn the ship. We promised 10. We knew that was going to be ambitious because we're asking people to change behavior. We've had to change regulation, change what DTI is allowed to do in terms of space and leases to make this work. But we were focused on it, and we announced 11 clinics, and some of those early ones that we announced have taken patients off the list. We've got 14,000 patients coming off the list. I need to double that, triple that, quadruple that, until every New Brunswicker has care close to home.
And is the hope that'll have an impact on those wait times in emergency rooms? There's been so much made of that in the last while.
The challenge in emergency rooms is complex. One of the challenges is the front end. We have people showing up who have no other source of care. They need to get their prescription refilled. They need to get their kid looked at because that fever is high, and it's not the kind of thing that you can. I'm not going to keep a kid with a 104-degree fever at home, right? You got to bring them. They have to be cared for. But that's not what the emergency rooms were built to do. But without primary care, then there's nowhere else for someone to go. So if we can give everyone access to timely primary care in community, then that takes one of the pressures off our emergency rooms.
I've asked the same question of your colleagues in the Maritimes about healthcare and just how much you can continue to spend. And there needs to be those. They all acknowledge there needs to be those investments. But how long healthcare will eat up as much money as you give it, and the deficits are ballooning in all 3 provinces. So how much can you continue to put into the system until it's no longer sustainable to keep doing that?
That's a good question. Our plan is to invest up front, right? If we have the strongest preventative and primary care system possible, then the demand on our acute care system should reduce, and that's the most expensive kind of care. Right? When you're getting emergency room care, we're talking about thousands of dollars a day of expense versus a preventative or primary care appointment, which is in the tens of dollars per day. And so I'm going to invest in these tens of dollars to avoid spending the thousands of dollars. And so we need to get that balance right. And until you have a fully functioning primary care system, you're not going to see the savings in the acute care system. And so to me, there's a tipping point. We haven't reached it yet, but once you have good health care available to everyone when they need it, then you're actually going to see that curve start to bend the other way.
This past year, 2025, dominated by trade, by tariffs. The Natural Resources Minister just mentioned that he's going to have a task force look into how to help the forestry industry. There's no timeline on that. How long can New Brunswick wait to hear something? Because it's every day there's something, right?
It's urgent. Yeah. We're pretty lucky here in New Brunswick. We have a very resilient industry. We have a really collaborative industry. They actually all work together to support each other at times like these. I'm not sure you can say the same for some of the industry in other provinces that are more competitive internally. So folks have been working really hard to avoid layoffs and curtailments in the face of a 45% tariff, but they can't hold that position for much longer. Certainly not months and months for a task force to meet and to determine a solution when we're going to already be into those layoffs and those reductions into 2026. So what we need is a deal. We need Ottawa to get to Washington. We need them to present a deal to the coalition, and we need to start negotiating to get those tariffs off. And industry across Canada has come together to provide some of those tools to the federal government. We now need them to make that trip to Washington and get that issue back on the negotiating table.
Ottawa has been urging patience that you want to get the right deal, and you've said it yourself, you want to get the right deal, not the first deal. But is patience waning?
Yes, I think the patience approach might apply for the rest of the tariff argument, but the softwood lumber battle has been going on for years and years and years. Decades, thank you. I don't think the call for patience works in the face of the 45% tariffs that folks are facing and what that means for the loss of business, the loss of employment, the measurable impact of GDP here in New Brunswick. It's 0.5% reduction in our GDP. It's thousands and thousands of jobs lost in the very near future. So there is absolutely urgency to get a deal done. And we're not taking the first deal. This is something that's been negotiated for years and years. We're on to, deal or proposal number, I don't know what, 78. So I think the patience is waning, and we need something.
Last year when we sat here, I asked you about New Brunswick Power, and the consultation in the province is taking place, and the turnout has not necessarily been robust. And I'm wondering why you think that might be. I mean, it's such a concern. We hear about it all the time about power bills and the concern about Point LaPro and possible inability to generate enough power. And you said at the time, if the results come back and one of the things that's mentioned is a sale of NB Power, that you might be open to that. Is that still your position?
Oh, absolutely. Everything remains on the table. I mean, we haven't seen the report from the panelists yet, but we know they've been out there talking to New Brunswickers. Agreed, it wasn't maybe the amount of people we anticipated would show up to the in-person sessions. They've had online sessions, but they've also been out there engaging with stakeholder groups that represent lots of New Brunswickers that share different points of view. They've been talking to NB Power folks. They've been talking to energy experts outside of our province and looking at how things are done in other places. And I think they're going to put forward a strong set of recommendations that our government is going to review really seriously. If that includes the recommendation of a sale, then we will give that due and strong consideration, because we can't keep doing things the way that we're doing them. We've got to change things such that New Brunswickers can feel confident that they're getting reliable power, that we have sufficient power, that it's affordable, and that it's both as environmentally sustainable as possible and as fiscally sustainable as possible.
That's one of the reports we'll be seeing in the new year, and we hope to talk about that with you when it comes up, of course, many other issues. Thank you very much, Premier, and happy holidays, and have a happy new year.
Yeah, happy holidays to you too.